Hello everybody, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the treasure spot with the ruler of Sun Soul. So I'm going to be talking about the gear first, which I'm sorry if it's going to take a while, because it might take a while, because they have, each and every one of them has each and every individual different skill, and they have abilities on top of it. So I'm very sorry if it's going to take a while. And then I'm going to be talking about the treasure spawn after that. So let's actually get into this so I can make this as short as possible. Okay, so we got Sunlight Crush, ability power 200, damages enemies 3 times, removes buffs from. This definitely is, before I actually get farther, this definitely is going to be good damage. It's definitely going to leave a scratch. This shouldn't board wipe in player versus player per se, unless you're dealing with a really weak team. It might board wipe them, but for the most part it shouldn't board wipe. But this is definitely going to do some damage. It's definitely going to leave a mark or two. So yeah, good damage. It's not the best of the game, but it's definitely going to hurt. And it's got the ability power boosted by 10 for each increase in skill level to increase it even further. Removes buffs from all enemies. Decreases stats of all enemies by 50% for 60 seconds. These two right here are good boss bait abilities. So if you're dealing with really tough, let's say player versus enemy, anything, like with super united offenses, boss battles, anything of the sorts, or anything surrounding really tough enemies that feel like bosses, this monster is definitely a monster you can help throw down for that scenario situation. So you can really help with DPS and everything surrounding hurting the boss and really just destroying the boss. Help destroy the boss even quicker. So these right here are two boss bait abilities. And then from there, this permits all allies thingy. It's just Piercer. It's pretty much a beginner's friendly guide or read to understand how Piercer works. So that's pretty much what it is. It's a Piercer, so I'm not going to get too much into that. I'm just going to call it Piercer. It recovers 25 cost for all allies. This one's right here is really weird. Feels usage of all allies excluding yourself. That means not including yourself if you're unaware, by 20. But it increases your usage gains by 3 for 60 seconds. That is really weird. Definitely the usage gains, especially if it's by 3, is going to be a lot better of a buff than just having a decrease in 20 for your usage gauge. So it's really weird. It may come in handy, it may not, depending on the situation. It does feel usage gauge. It recovers cost. Cost is going to be helpful for all scenarios and situations. That usage gauge, I feel like it might be more helpful in player versus enemy. It's definitely going to be helpful player versus player, but considering how it works, the Phil's usage gauge, it has that Phil usage gauge, it might be a bit more helpful player versus enemy as far as I see. It's got Piercer. Oh yeah, it also applies Pain Collapse, decreases ability power damage taken by 30 to the enemy field for 60 seconds. This isn't the best field buff of the game, field debuff of the game. There are better field debuffs, but this definitely does help, and this can help increase damage even further, considering you're going to be making them take 30 more extra ability power from your moves, and that could add on to be quite a decent amount extra. So yeah, that's pretty much covering this monster. This monster is definitely far more. This monster is good overall, but this definitely is heavily orientated around player versus enemy, where you're dealing with really hard enemies, like let's say bosses, mini bosses, or monsters that are as hard to kill as bosses per se, or just hard to kill overall. This monster is definitely orientated around those scenarios and situations. Plus, it's a fire monster, so if you're definitely interested in having a fire monster, 37 cost, it definitely does the trick. And it might not be all too useful in guild battles, but that field debuff is going to help you do more damage to the crystal. And then it's got Piercer, and it's a 37 cost, so it's going to give the highest score besides 40 cost dragons. So it definitely comes in handy for those situations if you're thinking about using it for guild battle. And of course, it's going to do some damage as well. So yeah, that's pretty much covering the monster and everything surrounding it. Okay, so let's actually get to the gear. And again, the gear is going to have separate skills, so I'm sorry if this may take a while, but at least the skills are pretty much working the same. Mind's Eye Pride over here and Sniper's Pride pretty much work the same way. Just they're different names, and they're going to be for different classes, and of course the extra classes are going to play a part, so that's very good considering the extra classes are going to be a little behind. Well, not exactly a little behind, they might be behind though, thanks to the 6 rigs coming out and everything surrounding them. But anyways, let's actually talk about them. Okay, so again, those two are going to be the same. Mind's Eye's Pride and Sniper's Pride. Chance to ignore 50% of the target's defense and magic defense, and massively increase physical and magical damage when using an ability. Only for attack that activates the skill will the defense and magic defense of the target be reduced by half. So that's pretty much how it's going to work out. As it's going to work out like a regular testament, like physical, magical, assault testament. XL, but on top of it, it's also going to ignore 50% of the target's magic defense and defense. So if they're really tanky, perhaps say like you're fighting a really hard boss or a really endgame boss, or you're just trying to do damage to the crystal during crystal assault, or the crystal on like the crystal sacred altar, something like that, right? That's where that's going to come more in handy. Or when you're fighting like in player versus player, if you're fighting rooks or soldiers, that's also where it's going to come in handy as well. Now, out of all the other classes, most of them are not tanky, so it's not going to really help too much. But it's really for those high defense and magic defense mobs, or whatever you're going to be fighting against, opponents, opposing force, whatever it has. If it has high defense and magic defense, that's where that's really going to kick in. Now, the issue with these is these exclusive skills are going to have, I would say, really low proc rates, but they're going to have a lot lesser proc rates. They're going to proc. Like, if you were to do a full mission right now, like, with, like, 5 or 6 waves, and they're decently hard, right? You're gonna see it proc at least a few times, but that's the issue, is compared to, like, the Seal ofs, the Testaments, physical, magical, and assaults, and then, like, the, blessings, or the favors, I'm not exactly sure, it's one of them. You'll see it above. I'm gonna have a picture of it above. Those right there are really the highest procking, and if you want higher DPS, I recommend those. Now, if you were to take, like, a test to see which one would do the most damage if you proc them, I definitely say these, Sniper's Pride and Mind's Eye Pride would definitely do the most damage, but of course, looking at the proc rate, the other moves, like if you throw on 2 physicals, like 2 physical testament double XLs instead of having Mind's Eye's Pride, right? That right there is going to do more damage, I at least believe, and on top of it, it's gonna proc a lot higher with a lot higher of a chance than Mind's Eye's Pride. So that's what I'm saying, like you're gonna have a lot more consistency in DPS overall just procking than you will just having one like every other instead. So that's what I'm saying, like those have higher proc rates, so you're gonna get more DPS out of those because they have higher proc rates, so they're gonna be procking and giving the buffs consistently compared to these. Now these are nice skills again, and they definitely do give pretty, they are a nice buff definitely to have. So I wouldn't say they're the best to have, absolutely not, but they're I guess they're good plan B. I guess they're next in line for recommendation. That's pretty much what I gotta say about them. They're not the best skill to throw on. They're good, they're decent, perhaps say. So yeah, that's covering Mind's Eye and Sniper's Eye Pride. Executioner's Pride gives a bonus to break, and it pretty much does what a regular Testament XL does. So it pretty much falls under the same category. The reason I'm saying this is because, well, if you're doing critical hit, if you're doing a critical hit build for a Lancer, the skill is not going to be useful at all. But if you're a breaking Lancer instead, and you're doing Volcanic Nova, which actually could be the heaviest hitting move if you set up preparation for it, this is definitely going to help out. Now again, it's going to have a little lower proc rate. It's definitely going to proc eventually, but it's going to have lower proc rate. So, which by lower proc rate, I mean lower activation chance for any of you that are confused by me saying that. So yeah, that's Executioner's Pride. It's like, I guess I gave it the same rating as I would Sniper's Pride and Mind's Eye's Pride. It's good to have say, or like decent, but like there's better stuff out there I think as a Lancer that you could probably use than this. I mean, unless you're really going like heavy on breaking, then I guess this won't hurt to throw on like a lot of these. But anyways, moving on from there. Okay, so we got Avenger's Pride and MD's Pride. They pretty much work the same way. They work as a physical testament does, but they also have every 5% in reduction in HP. Ability power is boosted by 5 up to a maximum of 50. These right here are even worse than the skills that I was talking about. So these right here are, I wouldn't say all too worth it. Now they do help do damage, so I can say that. But these are like absolutely, like these are just like if you absolutely don't have really any damaging skills for whatever DPS class you're doing, these are more of the last resort. These aren't even plan B or just good or decent. These are last resort. These aren't absolute garbage, but they're definitely something I would also recommend. If you have other stuff that helps with damage, I definitely do it, because these take a lot to catch up to just having 2 magical testaments double XLs on. Jeez, you have to get lucky with the proc rate, and on top of it, you're going to have to lose, I think it was 50%, more than half of your HP, if not half of your HP, to really have these do as much as 2 testaments double XLs. But those testaments are going to have a lot higher proc rate, so that's why I'm saying the Avenger Pride and MD's Pride is not worth it. I mean, the MD's Pride might be worth it for the cleric, considering the cleric doesn't have too many offensive skills, but other than that, with the MD's Pride overall, just for the berserker, for the mage, for the and that's pretty much it, actually. And the treasure hunter, that is not well too worth it. Absolutely. Better skills out there that you use. In fact, you could probably throw on magical testaments for a cleric. You might not lose a lot of gear score. You might lose some, but you're not going to lose a lot of gear score if you probably throw on some magical testaments. So I can't even really recommend it for clerics either. So that's pretty much covering the weapons and everything surrounding them. Let's actually get to the armors. They use physical and magical reflection. Reflections definitely do come in handy, though they do have reflection double XL. Reflection pretty much does what these two do in one skill, because the issue with running reflection is it doesn't matter if it's physical or magical or dark, light, or anything. They are reflections, so they count as the same family. So you can only proc up to 2 of these. Now you can throw on more to help with the proc rate. And by proc rate or activation chance, I don't mean the more you throw on, it's not going to fuse. It is not going to fuse into a big fat rate. Instead, how it's going to work out is if one of them fails, it's going to look at the next. If one of them fails, it's going to look at the next. If one of them fails, it's going to look at the next, and so on and so forth from there. So that's pretty much how it's going to work out proc rate wise. These are, though, the highest cost of the game. Each one of these, 36 cost weapons are the highest cost, 37 cost armors are the highest cost, the same for the monster. So they're going to give off the most stats, except for the monster, because awakenings, obviously. But by flat stats, without awakenings, these are going to give off the highest stats in the game. So keep that in mind. The higher the cost, the more stats it's going to give. So I can say that, and they are fire elements, so even if these don't have the best skill in the game, they are fire elements, so they're going to help out under that circumstance and everything surrounding it. Okay, so now let's actually talk about the abilities before actually going off. Okay, so we're going to start off with the soldier's one. The soldier one is not bad whatsoever. This is definitely a handy move to replace the attack. If you're definitely running dual sword, dual impact, or inspire sword, this is even better, and it's even more worth it because it gives that attack and defense buff. And as a soldier, that's the stat you're going to be using to do damage, and it increases the ability power even further. It's not going to be by a significant amount, but it will help. And the target's monsters are going to target you more often, so aggro is going to be placed on you more if you manage to do this. So keep that in mind when you're doing Soulbreaker. If you do Soulbreaker, more aggro is going to be placed on you. But as a soldier, you're more of a tanky class anyway, so I don't think it's going to matter too much. But anyways, besides that, this is definitely a very handy skill. Definitely a nice one to replace the attack. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best, but it's definitely going to be very, very, very useful. So it's definitely up there, at least I could say. Okay, so the next one we have is the Lancer's Deadly Blow. This one is I know the top tier skills for the Lancer. I forgot the name of one of them, but one of them is going to be based around critical hit, and then the other is going to be based around breaking. Because as a Lancer, those are the 2 type of scenarios and 2 types of ways you could go as a Lancer. You could be a critical hit comboing Lancer, or you could be a breaking comboing Lancer. I think breaking is going to be more helpful, but some scenarios critical hit might be a bit more helpful as well. Anyways, moving on from there, I'm not going to get too much into that detail or argument, because I'm not really sure about that. I'm heading into an area I don't know awfully too much about to that extent. Deadly Blow right here is not a bad ability. If you need something to replace the attack, this is definitely going to do it. There are absolutely better moves out there. Whirl Spear is one of them. I personally would, if you got Whirl Spear, keep on Whirl Spear. Whirl Spear is going to help with breaking. These things that replace the attacks, the regular attacks, they don't do as much damage as the original moves for the Lancer, so personally, I would throw on Whirl Spear for breaking, have that extra move for breaking, and instead of having, like you say you have 3, moves, you need 2 of them for breaking, and then one's going to be your damage. Instead of having that happen, just throw on Whirl Spear for breaking, right? And then throw on another move for heavy damage, or heavy as butt cheeks damage, so that way you're doing a lot of damage, and you're just overall, it's going to be more efficient, and you're going to be doing more damage as a Lancer, or at least helping with break as a Lancer. So that's pretty much what I would do World Spare wise. And then they have one with critical hit. This one's really weird because it's kind of a mixture of both, but the issue with these moves right here is these moves are actually orientated around breaks. So even though it's supposed to help with critical hit rate, these are orientated around break instead. So this was a really mixed one. I could say if it's like, if you need something to replace your attack, this is definitely going to do the trick. I wouldn't say it's going to be top tier, but it's definitely not like garbage or a pushover either. If you need to replace the attack, absolutely this is something you replace the attack with. It's not all too bad. It's not too shabby. So yeah, that's pretty much covering it and everything surrounding it, because they do have debuffs for Lancers that reduce the target's defense by 10. I have Xmas Gift. That's one of them. They do have other couple moves that are better, but it's pretty much covering that one. And then we got Transfer's Pain right here. Transfer's Pain is not a bad one. The ability power gets increased to max 70. For every 5% of HP you're missing, it's going to get increased, and that's up to a max of 170. So let me rephrase what I just said there. So that's pretty much covering that. And you can increase it to 180 if you add the combo effect, I believe. So that's going to go even further. But with the comboing effect, these moves are not exactly going to be the most used moves on the mage. So that's kind of a sad thing. Well, maybe Emperor's Bind, depending on what you're running, but you gotta throw these on to really make Transfer Pain work. But if you definitely do use these regardless, I mean not regardless, but if you do use these, if you get the comboing effect, and that is, this right here is going to be a lot more helpful, because it's going to increase your magic attack and magic defense by 20 for 15 seconds, and because of that, this is definitely going to be a really helpful ability. Now, any attack, anything you can replace with that regular attack on the mage is definitely going to help, because that regular attack does physical damage, and as a mage you're doing magic damage, and that's not going to be all too helpful. So that's pretty much Transferring Pain. I think it's probably going to be up there. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's up there for sure as a definitely good move, somewhere around that top tier area to replace the attack. So Transfer Pain is definitely a very nice one and a very good one, but you got to get the comboing effect to really make it blossom. If you don't have the comboing effect, just stand alone Transferring Pain, it replaces the attack. It's not too bad, but it's not too good either without the comboing effect. Okay, so moving on from there. Okay, so the next one we have is Body to Mind. Body to Mind consumes 50% of your max HP and reduces your ability cooldown times instead of doing cost, and this could be pretty dang helpful. This might actually be the best move. It's debatable, I think it is. I'm not 100% sure, but this is argumentably, at least I could say, one of the best moves to throw on your clerics. The reason for that being is, as a cleric, if you are a cleric, you already know the pain of having to wait to heal people, just how much some of these moves could cost, not cost, but the cooldown time, 30 seconds. Let's see over here. This is only 10 seconds. This is only 7, but some of the moves cost a lot of time to actually recover. 20 seconds right here, that's 30 seconds. I can't find too many of them, but there are a few that definitely take a ridiculous amount of time to actually heal, and using Body to Mind reduces that ability cooldown times, so you have to wait a lot less, and 15% of your maximum HP is not going to hurt. Losing 15% is not going to hurt whatsoever. As a cleric, you get to decide when to heal, so that means you can heal yourself included, and you can just get that back real easy. It's not a bad skill whatsoever. So that's pretty much covered the gear and everything surrounding it. Let's actually get to the treasure spawn. This treasure spawn is not a bad one. If you're unaware how treasure spawns work, treasure spawns require you to spawn a lot before you actually get the gear, or spawn multiple times before you actually get the gear. So this one's only going to be first time half off for the 15 gems. After that, it's for 30 gems. You do the math. If you already done the math, you already know how pay to win this is going to be. This is going to be a pay to win treasure spawn. Even as I talk good about this, this is still going to be a light pay to win treasure spawn. So unless you're rocking a couple hundred or somewhere around 200 gems, I recommend staying away from the spawn, even though I'm going to be talking very good about the spawn, because this one's a nice spawn, and I wish they did this more often. Okay, so now that we're done with that, I already checked to see if they have double chance. They do. It's going to be 6 chests like usual. You're going to be getting the chests. You're going to be getting double chance, so you're going to be spawning. You're going to be getting 2 chests after your first time half off, and after each and every time you hit the jackpot, 50 to 200 medals. If you don't get those, though, you're going to be just spawning 1 chest, that is. So keep that in mind. You're going to be spawning 1 chest. If you're new to this game, And obviously, if you're unaware, they will not have any rates for you to obtain the stuff within the gear spawn. So don't expect to attain anything feature gear orientated within here, just gear spawning alone. You're gonna have to deal with the jackpots and the metal exchanges to actually get some of the feature gear, but the stuff they offer to actually obtain it is not bad. Let's actually talk about that. With the treasure box contents, summoning scroll or 1k medals, that is a really nice amount within a jackpot. Just stand alone 1k, no rates or anything involved, straight up 1k. I'm gonna love my drops of ether and awakening orbs, definitely. And then in one of the side chests, they have the newly added gears, so you absolutely can obtain one of these. If you manage to get that chest, you're obtaining one of the new gears, so that is awesome. I can't wait to do this treasure spawn. Oh my god, I'm going so geek over this. I really shouldn't be, but oh my god, this is beautiful. And then they have 400 one of the side chests and 600 treasure medals in one of the side chests. That's 1k you can obtain in one of the side chests. That's a total of 2k. Wow, this is amazing. This is absolutely astonishing. And the prices aren't too bad either. You might be thinking the prices gotta be bad, but that's not the case whatsoever. If you actually go to the metal exchange, right, they actually offer a lot, and you're gonna love how much they offer. Get prepared. Okay, so right here, 2k actual metals to, well, 2k metals, 2.5k looks like for the armor. Actually, all of it's 2.5k, so it's gonna cost a bit more to gain, I guess you could say that. But with how much they offer within here, absolutely beautiful. The bulwark stuff, if you don't have it, this is definitely going to help. The banner, the bulwark, this stuff is definitely going to help with your fire element set if you don't have that stuff. So definitely, if you don't have that stuff, you definitely want to look into it, because the skills of the red barrage stuff are definitely nice. The bulwark and the banner stuff definitely do help, and they have an attack orientated around fire elementals. So definitely very, very nice. It's a bit outdated cost wise, but what they have skill wise to offer for it, it's definitely going to help towards those elements. And then they have more stuff for fire elements, and then they go down here. If you need reflection reduction armors, they have them in here. That's right, they offer more cheap damage reduction gears or reflection reduction gear. So if you're dealing with barrier, if you already know people that have reflection reduction, you already know when you're dealing with barrier, including guild battles, when you're going a crystal assault and you're dealing with that barrier, you're going to be taking 1 damage back at yourself. So your attacks are not going to be killing you whatsoever, because you're just going to be taking 1 damage back. So you have to have 2 of these to actually have that effect happen, but definitely a nice ability. Only 1k medals, and they offer another one also down here. It's going to be a bit less cost, so it's going to be less stats involved with them. But they offer it for 600 medals down here, so you can get reflection reduction also for 600 medals down here, real easy. So if you've been wanting reflection reduction gear, whew, you have a really good opportunity right now, trust me. And they bring back the damage ups. Oh my god, yes, I need these to really increase the DPS on my archer dramatically. I was not thinking they were going to bring these back. I had no hope they were going to bring these back, and they did it. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get my last damage up, because I already have one. I just need another one, and oh my god, it's going to be so beautiful with the DPS that I'm going to be doing. So yeah, they brought damage ups back, and they won't have these older ones. You should not expect to see these within a lot of feature gears. These are older ones, so they're going to be being pushed back a lot. This right here is a very rare occurrence for them to bring this stuff back. And yeah, personally, I'm truly loving it. They have so much in the metal exchange. It is ridiculous. It is phenomenal. And it's really cheap too to actually obtain. The metals aren't too expensive, so you can obtain the stuff quite easily. So that's pretty much covering the treasure spawn and everything surrounding it. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for watching, and I hope this helped out. This is the AzureWrath, and I'll catch you in the next video, and I'm out. Peace.